In this video, we're going to have the 79's first real tow test on the 35s. Now, while we did this same run a week ago without the van, we've got some comparison, auto temps and fuel consumption to compare to the exact same run. And what we found is I had to take all the air out of the airbags because with that 70mm lift we got from the springs, plus the bigger shoe, the Jayco was sitting up, nose high, too much. So to drop the rake, all the air came out of the airbags. And you can see here the Parabolics, true to their name in what they can hold in weight. And it's been driving awesome. Now the people that are looking at the 4-cylinder motors probably don't have 3.5, 4-ton caravans. So this example here of something around the 2-ton would suit most 2.8 litre 70 series buyers. How much power do I feel like we've lost on the hills? Manual form, I'm going to select 4th gear. We're sitting on 110, thanks Nicholas. So yeah, we're still doing 105. We're almost at the top. Amazing. 2-ton on the back on a 35-inch tyre. So the difference is 10 degrees Celsius. That's the exact same hill. And the only other difference is without the trailer, we sat on 110 from the bottom to the top. And with the 2-ton on the back, we dropped down to 105. I tell you too, with the 35s on, I mean, we're traveling now at about 95. The acceleration is there. I just went back to 4th in the manual form, put my foot down, and we're now doing 110 and passing. Something magic about this gearbox. Now later on in the episode, we're going to have fuel figure differences, we're going to have EGT temps, and I'll explain what I'm doing here. So the reason we didn't take the caravan down last weekend was because it was just a ride day, basically a practice for this upcoming meet. Here's a minute or so's footage from Nicholas on that ride day. A week of Sydney rain and a little bit of highway rain, and the new storage box we whipped up, it's bone dry. Have a look at the size of that rust. Oh boy. So yes, I had a bike to rebuild, and somehow we get these things done. As we said in the install video of the Terrain Tamer suspension, so these will be the dampers that we take into the desert. So another thing I noticed while I was under the vehicle is that the breathers that I put on, the fitting that went onto the housing, looks like it's failed us. So we just had that line swinging there in the breeze. So we've MacGyvered up a new fitting, and we'll run a line a little bit longer this time. Now it's probably happened at the Wattigans on a couple of the big wheel lifts that we had, or even stretching it when we were flexing it up. Unsure when it could have come undone, but we did drive through some water on the way out of the Wattigans. As part of our trip preparation, we were going to do an oil change on the diffs in any case. In order to change the diff oils, we've got to move this. Well, it hasn't been started for a good couple of months in all that cold weather and that wet weather. The only reason we uncovered it was to sticker it back up. Kids hated the clean skin look. We've only got 10.7 volts. There's no way that's starting. What that does, it gives me the opportunity to use something that I've put in. So we're gathering all our spares for the trip. So we've got bearings and seals that we're going to make a bag up and take away with us rear and fronts. The good thing with the new 79 is it still takes the same bearing kit as the V8s did in 2023. So we had stock of them, we'll take a set with us. The other good thing with the 79s is the front and backs are the exact same bearing kits. They're very handy. But what we need right now is the ARB jump starter. Now we purchased this after that debacle in Tasmania when we left the Anderson plug hooked up and we ended up with a dead battery when we came into the ports. So the couple that we used on the 79 that day, they failed. They didn't have enough to get us going. So what do we got here? So we got 100%. Let's see if this works. So it's hooked up and the green light there tells us it's correct. So I can't remember which way this isolator switch works. So let's bypass it. Still only got 10.8, but that's glowing. Once that red light comes off, the glow circuit's done. The alternator's fine because we're straight away up around the 14 volt. Wow, so I charged this 2 nights ago to put with the spares that we're taking, and that one jump took 20% of the battery. So we'll stick this back on charge before we leave for the desert. So this trip into Bunnings today, it's not work related, it's trip prep related. Now while I'm in here most days, the camera doesn't come with me normally. So what we've come in here for is some rust guard protection. Rust guard protection in the desert, you ask? So with all the rain they've had of late, salt pans have exposed themselves with water. So what's in the salt pans? It's salt. So not only is it on special, but Bunnings has a bit of a pack here with an inox in a bottle and an applicator. I guess first job's gonna be to get home and gurney the chassis and all the undercarriage. So no water, which is a good sign. So we've done about, 17,000 Ks now. I like to do my diff oils every 20, especially the rear with all the work it does. Rear diff's good too. And obviously oil of choice is going to be the Penrite Pro Gear GL5, a full synthetic. And we use this in both the diffs and we'll use the GL4 in the transfer case. But here you see the Terrain Tamer shocks back in, and looking forward to testing these things on the sand dunes and on the corrugations. So the engineers there at Terrain Tamer, they've done all the research. Now it's for us to sit back and enjoy the ride. So my sister-in-law Tiona brought this down for me from Queensland, but it's missing a wheel and it's not lifting. So let's see, we've got a little bit of GL5 left. I love taking rubbish and making it work. New lease on life that's got. The GL5 worked in the trolley jack. Just got to find a wheel for it now, just like new. So why are we taking the wheels off, you ask? So I'm bolting the wheel, I just heard a pop. I looked over and there's oil spots everywhere. So what's happened is, it's blowing the cap off. Put too much oil in it. Oh no, it's lifted the car up. How am I going to get it down? There's the cap there. So we can just put it back in. We won't tell anyone. So the oil spots, that's a job for the P26, Penrite's multi-purpose degreaser. On hand here at Team Bullet. Bit of water on that, and you would never know we were here. So we've been complaining about brakes, so that's one reason we've got the wheels off. I physically wanted to have a look at the disc, and you can see the different shades of blue, because there's plenty of meat on the pads. So I feel like they've been glazed from all that heat and all the river crossings. But I got all my bits and pieces out, as you know, for the desert. And we've got pads here from the 2016 model, the 2017 model, and the 2022 model. So we have got pads to suit this model. So this pad here is the exact same as the V8 DPF. Now the pre-DPF models, they had a smaller caliper, so those pads that I have over there, the pre-DPF model, will not fit. But I was hoping to see a lot less meat on the pad and then flick a set of pads in and maybe get some brakes out of it, but I feel that these need to come off and they need to be machined. Yeah, so unfortunately I thought I had front discs, but these are a rear. So these are genuine ones, and they're for the rear for when I need to get in there. So I think I'm going to have to leave them pre-trip and then come back and actually take them off. We're not towing anything across the Simpson, so it's not like we're going to be super heavy other than what we're weighing and carrying ourselves. Now the other reason we've got the wheels off, that stuff we bought at Bunnings the other day, it's time to get some of that on. The chassis, the suspension, and a lot of the undercarriage. So yeah, you wouldn't necessarily think you need to anti-rust for a desert trip. But as mentioned earlier, the salt pans have got water in them from all that recent rain that Central Australia copped. So you can imagine there's 800 odd kilometres from Mount Dare to Birdsville on the Madigan line, the one that we're doing. And we plan to take a week to do it. So taking the water the family needs for that distance. And we won't have any spare water to wash the chassis down. So we'll get this anti-corrosion, anti-moisture lubricant on. The Inox MX3, and apparently the reviews I've read and what I've seen, this will dry non-sticky. It puts a nice gloss on the chassis, and we've got a trip up north coming up when the weather gets warmer. So beach and sand driving in that particular case. So the rears are pretty badly glazed as well. We'll refurbish them all when we get home. So we're all sprayed up and ready for some salt. This box here we're trying to use as a pantry. Keep all the food for the week, the cutlery, the cups and dishes. So we're just going to try and dust proof it that little bit more. Fill these holes in that we made when we had it fixed to the car trailer, when we were using the car trailer as a motorbike trailer because of the quad. Oh, we're hitting the chassis here. Longer A-frame. Keep going. Keep pulling. Are you good? No dramas. Bit of wheel lift. Oh, the good old days, huh? I'd take that quad out every time the kids rode, and I would break it. And Millie loved to winch it on. How young was she here? And now she's riding a YZ85. I'm thinking to keep the weight up front, this is 60 litres of water, drinking water. Just got to work out how to maybe drill a hole through the tray or lift this up a little bit so the water flows. And then I'm going to have 2 diesel jerry cans. So they'll be side by side. Look, I think 130 litres the car holds, and 2 of these we should easily get through. Might be a sneaky little spot there for the gas bottle. And the fridge sits at the back. And yes, so speaking about the fridge, I washed the cover a few nights ago, and to find that when it was dry I had a zipper broken. This will be about 10 years old, this unit, and it's only ever lived on the back of a ute. So I went to order one and found out they've actually changed the design of the cover now, or the transit bag, so it's called. You can see here the new one where you've got the clips exposed rather than behind a zipper. So let's see if this lasts us 10 years. This fridge has been one of the best assets that we've ever had. It's tight. Actually hits. Yeah, but it should be alright. Once they're all locked in, drops it a little bit. It's going to be Tetris. It's just going to have to be how it is. Time to get this bike back together. We've got new brake pads for the rear. We've got his new funnel web filter. Wow, how did they even stop? It was just starting to touch metal. So we're lucky we weren't up for a new disc. And we've got a new tyre, ready for race day. So one of the trickiest MacGyvers I've ever had to do. There was a punish, but we got that aftermarket rear guard on. The aftermarket panels, I'm not such a fan of. Have a look at that. Is that the time? I know my audience doesn't like long movies. We're going to have to make a part 2 of this. We'll have another episode next week. I know you guys want to see the EGT temps, fuel consumption, towing with the 35s. I'll have that all for you next episode. The reason that we were struggling to get up that hill coming out of camp at round 2 is the same reason the motorbikes were struggling to get around their track. I hope you enjoyed this one. Stay tuned for the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.